everyone, and welcome once again to I've Been Playing. Today we're talking about Nobody Saves the World. Nobody Saves the World is a dungeon crawl game, kind of an action, kind of RPG kind of thing. It's available on every platform. I was playing it on Xbox Game Pass, however, at time of release at least, it won't be on Xbox Game Pass anymore, so you can't play it that way, but it is available on any system if anything about this review that I'll get into in a second intrigues you. There are some roguelike elements, so I suppose that would be a roguelite then, right? In the sense that the overworld, the open world that you're exploring outside, is the same every time, and you don't lose things when you die, so in that sense it's not really a roguelike. But once you go into the dungeons, if you die in the dungeon resets and reshuffles, and it's a different layout every time. So there's a little element of variety there. The main kind of difference in this particular game is that you are a quote-unquote nobody, like the title implies. You're just kind of a character, and you look like a character that hasn't been finished, let's be honest, in that you don't have any clothes or anything, you don't have any particularly distinctive features. I say particularly distinct, you don't have any distinct features. You are just a person in the world, and the magician who you were chasing after, the main thing is you're chasing after this magician. Don't remember the title or name of this magician, that's my bad, has disappeared, and his assistant wants to go find him because he's all like, oh, I'm the assistant wizard, or whatever his title is, and he's being a jerk about it. And then you take the wand instead, which lets you shapeshift into different forms. So these different forms are how you interact with things, and mainly how you attack. You can attack if you don't take any of these special forms, but your attacks aren't very good, and they don't have any elemental damage of any type, which you'll need for certain parts of certain dungeons, because certain enemies have to be attacked with a certain damage type before they can be fully, properly damaged. So the main way of interacting with the world and getting through the dungeons is by changing forms. The first form you get is a rat, because you start in a cell. You fall through the floor in this magician's abode and land in a cell, and then there's a little mouse hole in the north wall, and then I don't remember exactly how it happens, but you learn that you can turn into a rat, and you go through the hole, and that brings you to your first dungeon, and then you fight through there as a rat, and as you level up your forms, you'll unlock new forms, which can bring along new abilities, new attacks, they'll unlock new stuff, and they'll continue unlocking. There's like a big tree that you can unlock all sorts of different forms with. All the forms are graded from grade F, which is obviously the worst, to grade S, I think it goes up to, and once you get to a certain point, normally it's C or A, you unlock your new form, and then you can level that form up, and it's good to experiment with these forms and level them up as soon as you possibly can. I had this problem with the first main big dungeon, the castle, in the first area you get to. I thought I was prepared, but I didn't have as many forms unlocked as I needed, and then eventually, once you level up enough, you also, this might be after the first dungeon, but you can combine abilities from one form and use them with another form. That way you can customize it a little bit, and it makes it much easier as well. So I would recommend leveling up as many forms as quickly and as soon as possible as you can, because you're going to need their skills. However, before you go through that first dungeon, you can only level up to, I think, like a B, maybe a C even. You can't level up completely, so there will be certain ones that are locked until you complete that first dungeon, but otherwise, you kind of have freedom to do whatever you like there. The gameplay, otherwise, pretty standard dungeon stuff. You fight through a bunch of enemies, you use your abilities, you have bosses and mini-bosses and stuff like that. You have different dungeons. The overworld has different areas, most of which aren't accessible or are at least way too high level early on, so it doesn't exactly force where you're gonna go, except for the places that are blocked off. But it's best not to wander north, would be my suggestion. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with the game. I haven't played it in a little bit, actually, just because I have so much going on recently, but I was having a lot of fun. I was getting a little frustrated at first when I was trying to go through that main big first dungeon before I was fully prepared, because I kept dying basically at the same point, because I got overwhelmed by enemies. That's one thing I don't like. It can be kind of hard to parse what's going on, because there's so much on the screen at any given time sometimes. times when you're fighting because there are so many enemies, there are magic attacks. There's just a lot going on. It does tend to put a little arrow pointing to you if there's a lot of stuff on screen, but if there's a lot of stuff on screen right around me, I still can't see myself, especially if I'm in a smaller form like the rat or the slug. Otherwise, it's a lot of fun. There's a fun little gameplay loop there. There are a lot of fun forms to unlock, and I didn't get any of the massive ones, and there's like a dragon at the top. I'm nowhere near getting that one, but I think one of the last things I unlocked was a zombie. There's a slug, as I said, there's an egg you can attack as an egg, I think. I didn't use it to attack anything, because it's mainly to sit in specific areas and level up by interacting with a bird, by which I mean getting sat upon by a bird. There's a ranger, you know, there's some standard ones there as well. There's a guard or a warrior, I can't remember what he's called. All sorts of stuff you can unlock. And each one of these characters has its own XP as well as the overall XP, so you level up not only just overall, but you level up each of these forms, as I kind of alluded to before. So it's fun to use all of the different forms. I found some of them much more easy to use and much more helpful than others, like the ranger, for example, at least before I leveled them up. I didn't like how their attacks worked. The slug was surprisingly useful because it leaves behind a slime trail that slows enemies down, and that was really helpful in that one dungeon. So there's a lot of experimentation there, and I was enjoying my time with the game. Like I said, I haven't played it for a little while, and it's leaving Game Pass about halfway through the month. And like I said, at time of release, it won't be there anymore. I enjoyed my time with it. Time will tell, though, whether I go back to it and pick it up again. Probably will at some point, but I need to clear some other stuff off of my plate first, although I am a little bit worried that if I take too long away from it and try to go back, I'll forget all the buttons. But there are plenty of other games where I need to do that and have done that before anyway, so maybe it'll be fine, who knows? Overall, I recommend the game. I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun experimenting with the different types of forms and just mix and matching the abilities. And combat did get a little repetitive, to be fair, but I don't think the game is long enough that that's going to really matter, and especially since I'll have taken a little bit of time away from it, I don't think it will get on my nerves as much as it probably would otherwise. But yeah, if you like dungeon crawlers and roguelites, I would say, then this is probably one to check out. And there you have it, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think of this game down in the comments down below, and whether you've either heard of it or played it before. Let me know down there as well. I will see you next time.